Brazil versus Morocco ended 1-1.
And that draw, a little bit frustrating arguably for both sides.
But don't let that scoreline fool you, because underneath that draw sits a terrifying reality. For Brazil, Morocco didn't just compete with the Seleção, they exposed them.
Every time they get the ball, every time they win the ball, every time they have the ball, Morocco's on them. That with 2-3 players pressing, chasing. It felt like I was watching PSG.
They pinned them back, invaded their penalty area, dominated huge stretches of the game, and forced Alisson Becker into a miraculous stoppage-time rescue just to save a point. So forget the official result. The real question leaving New Jersey is this: did Brazil escape with a draw, or did Morocco just hand the entire World Cup the blueprint to beat them? From the first whistle, Morocco did something nobody gives them credit for doing against Brazil. They came forward. No deep block, no sitting back in two compact lines, waiting for a Brazilian mistake. Mohamed Ouabi set his team up to press high, win the ball in Brazil's half, and force a side used to controlling tempo into rushed, uncomfortable decisions. Morocco won duels across the pitch, cut off the passing lanes that were supposed to feed Brazil's double pivot, and within 10 minutes, the Seleção already looked rattled. Casemiro and Bruno Guimaraes were supposed to set the tempo. That was the plan. Two senior Premier League midfielders, both experienced at the highest level, both expected to absorb pressure and keep the ball moving. Instead, the best midfielder on the pitch in that first half was 18-year-old Ayoub Boadi.
But you know what can't wait? You know what I can't postpone? Ayoub Boadi. Because, oh my God, what a performance from the Moroccan wonder kid.
His World Cup debut, his first senior international game at this level, he schooled them both.
And one of the key factors behind that is Boadi, who, for example, in the sequence, as soon as Bruno Guimaraes gets the ball, he just gets quickly in his face, doesn't let him have the time to control the ball, to make a decision. But not only that, he's ferociously fighting, both Bruno Guimaraes and Casemiro in order to win that ball, and he does. Gets the ball out, but he's not satisfied by that, because what makes Boadi so important to this Moroccan setup is the fact that he is great at turning these kind of defensive contributions into attacking transitions, moving into space in order to receive the ball and carry on with the counter, okay?
And the goal that came from it wasn't lucky. It was the blueprint working exactly as designed. El Khanous, Boadi, and Mazraoui moved together as one coordinated unit, pressed Ibanez and Paqueta simultaneously, cutting off every back pass into the double pivot and every lane forward. El Khanous won the ball directly off Paqueta. Not a lucky deflection, a clean, aggressive press that left no exit. Mazraoui read the press trigger immediately and moved the ball forward before Brazil could reset, finding Brahim Diaz already on the half turn, head up, scanning the Brazilian defense line. Gabriel and Marquinhos were stepping up, trying to compress the space. Diaz threaded a perfectly weighted pass right between them, and Ismail Saibari burst through the gap, spotted Alisson off his line, and chipped him. Clean, deliberate, brilliant.
And Morocco got their goal, a deserved goal, because the first 20 minutes they were the better team by far. Great goal. A pass to Brahim Diaz, who was wide open in the middle of the park, and Brahim Diaz with an exceptional pass. The weight of it, the timing of it, great run by Saibari, running in between Marquinhos and Gabriel, and the finish, good composure, great finish to make it. But
that sequence wasn't a moment of inspiration, it was a sequence Morocco had set up to happen, executed the way a well-coached team executes, because every player knew exactly where to press, when to trigger, and where the pass was going. Those 23 clearances tell the same story. Every one of them was Brazil's defense, scrambling to deal with pressure they couldn't manage through their midfield.
But like I said, I think overall wasn't a good performance, and the balance of the team wasn't right. The middle never got the control of the game, and we know how important is the midfield for the team.
You don't make 23 clearances when you're controlling a game. You make 23 clearances when your midfield keeps losing the ball and your backline keeps bailing them out. Morocco didn't slow down after the goal, they pushed harder. As the first half approached its final 20 minutes, their counter-pressing intensity went up another level. Every time a Brazilian midfielder touched the ball, there was a Moroccan body arriving immediately, cutting off the next pass, forcing a backwards option or a rush decision.
And the first 10 to 15 minutes was all Morocco. Morocco put all pressure towards Brazil. Like that first 15-minute spell, Brazil could barely string 2-3 passes together. They could barely even get into Morocco's half. Like every time they get the ball, every time they win the ball, every time they have the ball, Morocco's on them, like with 2-3 players pressing.
Unai and Brahim Diaz were moving constantly, pulling Casemiro and Roger Ibanez out of their natural positions, dragging them to spaces they weren't meant to occupy. So, both players started arriving late to challenges, not because they're reckless, but because Morocco's movement kept pulling them a half step too far from where they needed to be. The yellow cards Casemiro and Ibanez collected before half-time weren't accidents, they were symptoms. You pick up yellow cards when you're consistently one beat behind the play, when you can't win the ball cleanly because you're already scrambling to get back into position. At half-time, Ancelotti pulled them both off, a manager with 5 Champions League titles, a man who has handled Real Madrid dressing rooms, pulling 2 players before the second half even starts.
Do you think he makes those changes though if those 2 weren't on the yellow cards?
I still think he'd make the changes because Casemiro was being overrun in central midfield. He couldn't quite get the shape right. He was playing next to Guimaraes. Guimaraes was then going further forward at times. Casemiro couldn't get around the pitch. And that's why Morocco were dominant. And they were so easy for Morocco to get good possession and break and play at a high intensity.
That's not a rotation, that's an admission that his opening structure had been taken apart. Casemiro had been overrun so thoroughly that keeping him on risked losing the midfield entirely.
He looked always late. You know, in the challenge, he never looked controlled. He sometimes he was ahead of Bruno in the build-up, which it should be the difference. It should be Casemiro a little bit deeper and Bruno higher up on the pitch. So I think they couldn't find themselves on the spaces, and that's why they never looked controlling the midfield.
Ibanez had been stretched to the point where the whole right side of Brazil's shape was becoming a liability. But the midfield wasn't the only problem. Brazil's attack had no reference point.
Leader, he's running around a lot and gets the crowd involved. It felt like it needed 1 or 2 players to get their foot on the ball and just dictate the tempo.
Vinicius and Raphinha were asked to interchange positions freely in the first half, which sounds like creative flexibility, but produced something closer to confusion.
He started off by saying, Raphinha and Vinny Jr., you can interchange positions and you can be floating around and make decisions. He said after 20 minutes, this isn't working. Vinny, you go and play out on the left wing, and that's where you go and play. Raphinha, you go and play out there. Now I'm not going to give you the options anymore. I'm telling you how you're going to play.
No width, no clear runners, no pattern the rest of the team could read. When the midfield can't hold the ball, the attack can't build any rhythm. And when the attack has no structure, the whole thing collapses into individuals trying to manufacture something from nothing. Vinicius' equalizer was extraordinary, cutting inside off the left, chopping onto his right foot, finishing top corner past Bono. It was the kind of goal that makes him one of the best players in the world when he's in that space and in that moment. But it came from an isolated decision, not from any collective pattern Brazil had built. One action, one player.
Then when they look for a savior and when they need a savior, the savior steps up. Vinicius Jr. passes the ball to Bruno. Bruno gets his pass gets intercepted, but Vinny still gets to it, and Vinny goes past. I think he went past Al-Ainawi and then cuts onto his right with an exceptional finish to make it 1-1, and Brazil equalized.
And then Brazil went back to struggling. Better teams at this tournament won't give Vinicius that space. They'll double up on him, push play to the other side, and make Brazil prove they can create danger through their structure, rather than through one man's brilliance. Against Morocco, that structure wasn't there. Ancelotti's second-half adjustments brought back some stability, pushing Vinicius wider left, moving Raphinha to the right, dropping Paqueta back into midfield. Their shape held better, but Morocco were never genuinely stretched in the second half. They weren't chasing the game, they were comfortable, defending their point, and waiting for the right moment to push for more. That moment came in stoppage time, and what happened next made everything else look conservative. In the 98th minute, with a point on the board against Brazil, conventional wisdom says you protect it. You sit deep, you make the pitch small, you run the clock out and take your 1 point home. Morocco did the opposite. Their front line activated a high-intensity press so aggressive it choked off every Brazilian passing lane at once. No exit short, no exit wide, nothing clean available. Buadi collected it, found Hakimi immediately, and Hakimi drove forward at a back line that had been standing still admiring its own clearance. Brazil blocked the run, but the ball spilled loose and fell directly to Neil El-Ainaoui, who needed no second invitation. He hit it. Not a shot, a rocket, driven from long range.
Comes to the middle of the field, shot through traffic, Alisson!
With enough velocity that Alisson was already diving full stretch before he'd fully processed where it was going. He got enough on it to push it away, but only just. Before any Brazilian defender could react, Ayoub Amayuni had already outgambled 3 of them to the loose ball. While the Brazilian backline stood still, he swarmed the parry and struck a lightning-fast follow-up from point-blank range, forcing a second miraculous reaction save from Alisson in the space of about 3 seconds. 2 stops, both at point-blank range, from one of the best goalkeepers alive. That's what it took to keep the scoreline where it was, a global superpower gasping for air inside their own 6-yard box in the final seconds against the team the world still underestimates. Think about what that sequence actually means. Morocco weren't sitting on a result, they weren't trying to manage the last minutes and stay professional, they were hunting with the score level in injury time against Brazil. They pushed higher and pressed harder than at any point in the second half. That's not a team clinging on. That's a team that genuinely believed the winner was still available. The Qatar 2022 semi-final run didn't happen because Morocco got lucky. They beat Spain on penalties with a defensive performance built on the same collective intensity. They knocked out Portugal with a tactical plan that neutralized one of the most individually talented squads in the world. What happened in New Jersey wasn't a one-off, it's who they are.
You know, I would say Morocco's real power, superpower in many ways over the last 4 years has been the fact that they're so hard to beat. Like you just cannot beat them easily. Like even if you outplay them, even if you play good football, everything, they just make everything so hard. They're physical, they're dominant, they kind of...
Buadi's composure on his debut, El-Ainaoui's reading of the game, Brahim Diaz's decision-making in tight spaces.
When he picks up the ball, he's cute with his first touch, and what he does is he draws people towards him. You know, he draws the presence of defenders. He makes these people come towards him.
Hakimi's constant threat going forward.
And then you've got Hakimi, who does the opposite. So Diaz sort of comes towards the ball, gets touches and drags defenders out, and then Hakimi just flies into the space that has been created.
Uabi has built a squad with real depth, and every player on that pitch understood exactly what they were being asked to do. Brazil left New Jersey with a point, but an aging midfield that gets pressed into panic, an attack that collapses to a single player when the structure breaks down, and a manager who burned 2 halftime changes in 1 game. Those problems don't disappear against easier opponents, they just wait. Morocco didn't compete with Brazil, they showed the world exactly how to take them apart. A manager still looking for his best 11. The blueprint is out there now. If you want more tactical breakdowns like this one, subscribe and send this to someone who still thinks Brazil are genuine World Cup favourites.